Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for the organization. And Christina, of course, for putting everything together. It's a great pleasure to be here to present this. We're going to present this building to you as the headquarters and auditorium for the University of Malaga. This is built in the south of Spain. I should say that we are a very small office located in Pamplona, in the very north in the country. We have a very particularity because we have both my partner Jorge and me, Rubén. We are both academics. We teach, research, and also build. And we partner also with Roberto Ercilla, who is also an academic for the proposal to launch this proposal for the competition, who was won in 2016. So this started as an open competition. That is mostly what we do in our office. The prompt of the competition was basically to define the headquarters, the presidency of the university. And one of the first things that come to us, of course, was how to provide a character to a building, how to provide this individuality to a building. It has to signify the presence of a university in a place, in a campus where it was still new and had nearly no context. So we looked to what major universities in Europe look like, and of course we came to the idea of the cloister, the idea of the patio, this centralized empty space, which is not constructed, is not built, which works as a gathering space for the whole community and university to enjoy to each other and also to exchange this idea of the knowledge. This is an aerial view of the city of Malaga. The city of Malaga is particularly nice and beautiful, especially this time of the year. And one of the nice things about the city is this mass of vegetation in the city center. This is called the Botanical Garden, which has a very important character in the city and has the ability to provide a gathering space, an empty space for everybody to expand. So the building had to be placed in this context, a context with no context at all. And one of the most challenging questions was how to define a place in a site. A site was already a site, but who needed something to transform it into a place. So I don't know if we can just point in here. So when we see this little kidney element, that's our site. It was a part of a basin to provide irrigation and watering for the future park. And we had to create a building who had to define its own perimeter, its own context. It is the original place, a no man's land with nothing were built there. So one of the first reactions to this was to build this geometric act of drawing a line into the land, drawing a line into the site, or to create a geometry was able to define everything at once. And this is the first model we did for the proposal of the competition, which essentially is in this case was originally three very prismatic, elemental, I would say abstract buildings that talk to each other, and eventually they close to each other into the exterior, and they look forward to create an interior space that provides the gathering. That's a location of the building. As you can see, it's very far away from the whole city, from the city center in this new expansion campus. And the two volumes, the two pieces, the two components, they lay geometrically within the site. They try to acknowledge that some of the alignments, some of the positions of the neighbors, the only few neighbors that are already there, and try to acknowledge that condition. The only facade of the building that's mostly public, it is the north facade, which is going to be the entrance of the building. The building creates a very public entrance, monolithic entrance that combines both elements together, and it opens to the very north. And further than that, the two buildings then closed to the exterior, and they're completely opened to these two large courtyards that define the character. The building to the right is the main presidency building for the president of the university and mostly administrative work. And the building to the right, the volume to the left, sorry, that's the auditorium for about 800 people. And this is one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful drawings of the whole project, which is the space which is not being constructed, the space which is not being built, but is the plan of actually the courtyards, the empty space within the building. We define this empty space, mostly constructed with vegetation. To the right-hand side, you can see the north courtyard in the building, where it's mostly geometric, that creates more representative courtyard. And the drawing to the left is the south inner courtyard, where it's only inhabited by these two small volumes, these two small little elements which are gathering and conference rooms for the for the administration. The building is organized in a very easy and effective way. So all the perimeter are a very thick perimeter with bathrooms, vertical circulation, archives, conference rooms, meeting rooms, and all the what you see in the orange or red area is basically empty space for the office building. In the upper level, it's mostly the presidency, and the elements more significative. And then the building adjusts to the terrain by carving down into the ground. This is a relatively large building that has to break down to its scale and accommodate to the topography. And there was a very intense work with the landscape to acknowledge that condition of a building has to be navigated through the place. So it creates some of those moments where the building has to be acknowledged within its space. It's a building with both buildings are built with mostly one single material. The two large volumes are mostly built with marble, white marble of Macael, which is a marble from the region, and everything is just nearly constructed with the same material. Even the facade, the pavement, even the gravel in the rooftop is also made with that. So the main plan for the ground floor level, and you can see the auditorium that is being carved down into the ground to minimize the impact of the volume. And then the upper level with more representative spaces. So the building creates those very, in my opinion, nice moments in the outset when you're not acknowledging what those are, if they are buildings, if they are sculptures into the landscapes, or how the massive intervention tries to disappear between the wilderness of the vegetation. The auditorium has a very gentle slope to break a little bit the scale of the building, and dialogues with the sky, while the administrative building mostly dealt with the geometry and to the inner courtyards. You can see how the buildings adjust itself to the topography to minimize the impact and be as short as possible, to be as low as possible, just as becoming nearly a field or a canvas, a marble canvas for the vegetation to grow. And then in the inside we have these two very geometric empty corridors densified with vegetation, which create all the connections between all these spaces. So the north corridor is more geometric, and all the working spaces, all the office spaces, of course, open themselves completely to the interior of the vegetated courtyards. In the southern one, we have these moments where the small conference rooms nearly touch, but they do not, to the main building, and all these transitions that force the users to navigate through the exterior space to get from one place to another. And then it creates some interesting moments in the exterior where the auditorium and the presidency building, they get connected with this pergola, that sort of exterior space that connects, creates a sort of interior but also exterior gathering place for the users. Everything is with the same marble, both floor, facade and walls, and sometimes in some occasions these deep carvings are also in the ceiling. We can also have this white marble. The auditorium is a very silent volume. It gets carved down into the ground, creates some moments of openings which create a more dramatic lighting, and all these circulations open themselves to the larger space in the inside. We can see how the two volumes connect to each other, somehow they align themselves gently to some of the neighbors in the back, and how they create a more public open facade, more unified facade to the north part of the entrance. And this is one of the drawings we made for the competition, which mostly relies on this open, empty space in the corridors, and we are quite happy that the final end results somehow relate to this abstraction of this building. Thank you very much.